Now from WATN, it's Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Welcome to our year in review on Local 24 This Week. This is the one episode where we break from format a little and have some fun talking about the year's biggest stories, as well as predicting what we think will be the biggest stories next year. And you really know who your friends are when you ask three guests to come in between Christmas and New Year's to help me. Joining me here at our round table is a veteran Local 24 News reporter Mike Matthews, political consultant Susan Adler-Thorpe with Thorpe Communications, has the Memphis crud, and she still came in, and Local 24 political analyst and commentator Otis Sanford. So let's get right to what you think were the biggest stories of the year, and you all were kind of boring. You all said the same thing. 2019, Otis, Susan, and Mike, Strickland wins is your choice for story of the year. Mike, I'll start with you as to why you think that was. You each have kind of different take on it, so we'll expand on it a little bit. Why do you say that's?
He got 62% of the vote.
Landslide.
That's right. It's a landslide. It is a mandate. In fact, talking with him, he said that he considers it a mandate and that he will probably act differently in the office now than he did the first 4 years because he's going to be a little bolder. He feels as though that the voters have given him the okay. They like what he has done, so he's going to keep working at it, doing what he continues to do. He's not a flashy guy, so he's not going to get real flashy in the second term, I don't think. He's going to continue to push the brilliant at the basics. He's going to continue to push Memphis has momentum. He's going to continue to push all those things. And the city is just chugging along, but it's chugging along in a positive way, which, as you know, is unusual compared to some of the years we've had.
Well, that was a turning point in the course of the campaign, is when the poll came out, Otis, that said for the first time in a long time, more Memphians felt the city was headed in the right direction than in the wrong direction. Right. Your take is slightly different, too, because you think his landslide victory makes for a political impact on some other political futures, too.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, you know, obviously his major opponents were Dr. Harrington and Tammy Sawyer. I see this as a top story in 2019 just because this is Dr. Harrington's last hurrah as a candidate for anything. I think that the voters spoke to him, I think, in a fairly compassionate way. He got a fair number of votes, but people were basically telling Dr. Harrington, thank you for your service, Dr. Harrington. We appreciate you for all you've done, but we don't need you running for any political office ever again. You've done, and that's not a bad. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think that's what the voters were saying. So we saw the last candidacy for Dr. Harrington, which makes it a big story. I don't know where Tammy Sawyer's future is. She didn't do herself any favors with this campaign, so we'll just have to wait and see where she stands going forward.
And Susan, your take on this is the Strickland landslide was symbolic of something much more about the city of Memphis.
It is. Pardon my voice. We learned a long time ago in journalism school that the news that seeps and creeps is really the news. It's not the headlines day to day. But I think the news that seeps and creeps is buried in Mayor Strickland's re-election. That when he started, the first thing he did within the first 4 or 5 months was to work hard to keep Service Master here.
Yep.
And our city has moved forward in a tremendous amount of ways. I don't think it's momentum. I think it's optimism that he has given us. I mean, we have Lowe's Hotel under him. We have 24 different apartment complexes that are underway in downtown Memphis, 2 in Midtown, which that hasn't happened in 50 years. What hasn't happened in 50 years is the confidence that we as Memphians have in our city. And I think you have to credit much of that, if not most of it, to Jim Strickland and how he ran this city.
Well, we know about the Memphis investors who have always been there for the city, the Turleys of the world and what have you, but you know you've turned a corner when foreign, and I say foreign, outside of Memphis, investment starts to pour in. I was going through the list. One Beale, Union Row, South Main, Convention Center, Lowe's Hotel, Google, Amazon, Pinch District, St. Jude, the Riverfront, the Clipper Project, FedEx Logistics, Billy Orgle's project in the north side of town, the Snuff District. I mean, it goes on, and development is easily a subset to perhaps the biggest story of 2019.
Don't forget that Bloomberg News rated Memphis as the city with the #1 job growth in the nation. And Forbes magazine has said this is the city to visit next year. So when outside people living outside of Memphis validate us, the voters in turn validated the mayor.
Yep.
He's done a good job as far as the growth is coming. No one's trying to imitate Nashville, which is a big change from what it used to be like when we both came to this city.
Yep, so
when
true.
Everybody compared Memphis to Nashville, Memphis to Nashville. Even just a few years ago, talking about the cranes in the city and we don't see any growth. No, you're seeing a lot of growth here. Not cranes standing up high and tall and all these skyscrapers going up. You're seeing Memphis grow the way Memphis has grown for years, and that is just enough to give it the sense of feeling. The Memphis character comes through here with all these developments. Memphis is doing it the way they should. They're not copying anybody. They're doing it on their own here. And I think Strickland, you're right, Mayor Strickland has a lot to do with that, with his very simple approach on government, which is just, we're going to be as good as we can be at what we do.
And, of course, not everything is all rosy here, and I think the mayor understands that. I think I heard him in a piece you did the other day, Mike, where he talked about, yes, we have done tremendous work downtown and in the downtown area, but we have these other areas, Klondike and some other places that need to take advantage of the growth as well, and he touted his 3.0 plan in that, which tells me that he is addressing that. So we do still have to continue to work on the poverty in Memphis, we have to work on the crime in Memphis, the transportation in schools. But I think overall, Susan is absolutely right about the positive, the optimism that I think the city has right now that we haven't had in quite a while.
Well, one of the things he addressed that you were talking about is universal pre-K.
Yeah.
And that is beginning under Jim Strickland.
Right.
So we can't forget about those kind of things, and we'll never forget how it was Jim Strickland who engineered taking down the statue of Nathan Bedford Forrest.
Absolutely.
And that was leadership, even in spite of the fact that there was a large segment of his voters who were against it.
Yeah, and I will contend to you that taking down those statues, I hear people say, well, it hasn't done anything. Yes, it did do something. I would contend to you that the attitude of people in this city has changed dramatically since those statues came down, simply because it was the right thing to do and they knew it, and we got it accomplished.
Right.
And the legal maneuverability that it required was genius, I think.
Yeah.
My story of the year for 2019, though, is the year of the Tiger, I'm calling it. Between game day coming here with ESPN, you had the 4 biggest games in Tiger football history all this year, one after the other. Each one was bigger than the one before. Penny and his recruiting, the whole Wiseman story was a story that was good and bad with the NCAA sanctions, and we don't know what's going to happen next year with all that. But it'll be, it's hard not to acknowledge the success that program has had.
No question about it. No question about it.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to let Susan take a drink of water. We may all need a drink of water. And we're going to talk about some of the stories that didn't quite make the cut that we thought we needed to address because they were pretty big in 2019. We'll be right back.
I'm Lydia, and there's more to me than HIV. There's my career, my cause, and creating my dream home. I'm a work in progress. So much goes into who I am. HIV medicine is one part of it.
Prescription Dovato is for adults who are starting HIV-1 treatment and who aren't resistant to either of the medicines dolutegravir or lamivudine. Dovato has 2 medicines in 1 pill to help you reach and then stay undetectable, so your HIV can be controlled with fewer medicines while taking Dovato. You can take Dovato any time of day, with food or without. Don't take Dovato if you're allergic to any of its ingredients or if you take Dofetilide. If you have hepatitis B, it can change during treatment with Dovato and become harder to treat. Your hepatitis B may get worse or become life-threatening if you stop taking Dovato, so do not stop Dovato without talking to your doctor. Serious side effects can occur, including allergic reactions, liver problems, and liver failure. Life-threatening side effects include lactic acid buildup and severe liver problems. If you have a rash and other symptoms of an allergic reaction, stop taking Dovato and get medical help right away. Tell your doctor if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis B or C. Don't use Dovato if you plan to become pregnant or during the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, since one of its ingredients may harm your unborn baby. Your doctor should do a pregnancy test before starting Dovato. Use effective birth control while taking Dovato. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, nausea, trouble sleeping, and tiredness.
So much goes into who I am and hope to be.
Ask your doctor if starting HIV treatment with Dovato is right for you.
Everyone has a story.
You can overcome.
Stories that matter and are important to you.
Voice to the voiceless.
Stories of grief, triumph, tragedy, and hope. Local 24 News is committed to telling your story, keeping you informed, keeping you safe. Local 24 News with Richard Ransom and Katina Rankin. Telling your story. You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Watching the first segment, you might think that 2019 was a year full of lollipops and unicorns, but there have been some other serious stories that we have to talk about. Number one, in my mind, is the unrest in Fraser that happened in June when some U.S. Marshals shot and killed a suspect who was wanted for a pretty serious crime. But that really turned ugly very fast, Otis, and I wonder if you think law enforcement is adequately aware and cognizant, I guess, of the situation with many in this community who do not trust law enforcement.
Well, I think that they are aware. I do think that in this case, just because it was not a Memphis police operation to begin with, they were sort of caught off guard by the reaction.
Because most people at the beginning, anyway, thought that's exactly what it was.
They thought it was police shooting down a black man in Fraser. But all the facts, when all the facts came out, you know, it was totally not what it was perceived to be. It was a major story, Richard, for a lot of different reasons. One is because you have this community that feels like they're not enjoying all of the other things that we talked about in the first segment. You have frustration going on out there. You do have the distrust of the police. But also, you had political people taking advantage of it in a bad way. You had political activists, you had community activists showing up on the scene and using it for their own political purposes, which was a bad thing, using social media to put out misinformation and wrong information. So yes, it was a bad situation. I think the police department, you know, made some changes in how they react to community events as a result of it. But yes, it was a major story.
Well, we see misinformation spread all the time on social media, but that was a real lesson locally in how dangerous that can be when misinformation gets spread. The Tom Lee Park redesign, Susan, I want to have you opine on that. That got ugly, but then it got better once the mediation worked, and I wonder if you think, is that controversy put to bed now and put to rest?
Well, I hope it's put to bed. But don't forget, and I hate to do this in a way, but Jim Strickland weighed in on that as a mediator. And he's been involved in the zoo controversy as a mediator. We have had, since I think 1960, 24 different consulting studies on what to do with the riverfront. And here we've got something that is just on the precipice of being reality, and I think that, that it will come to fruition. I think we're about at the end of the controversy. I think Memphis in May has to accept the fact that this city has to progress, and it can come along with the progression. But yes, I think it's been solved.
Another big story, Mike, was all the shenanigans in Nashville this year. Wow, I mean, we were covering quite a bit with Speaker Glenn Cassida and how the school voucher bill was rushed through, and there are FBI investigations now into bribery and other types of things. Do you think things will settle down in 2020?
No, I don't. I don't think they're going to settle down at all. I think they'll continue. See, because there's a basic disconnect here that happens not just with legislators, but with the city. We talk about Tom Lee Park, and we talk about all these things that are important to a lot of lives. 25% of the people in this city live at or below the poverty level. A quarter of the population lives at or below the poverty level. Poverty is involved in every single thing in this city. Jobs programs, the police, the frustration that we saw over in Fraser, the frustration of the powers that be knocking us down, them not getting a piece of the pie at all. They don't care about Tom Lee Park. They don't care about what's going to happen in Nashville as far as will they allow vaping this year or anything like that. No. These folks are trying to just stay alive. It drives this city, and it's going to make being a mayor of this city. Jim Strickland said, he goes, I got to deal with this. I got to try to deal with it. It's a lot easier said than done, but you can't avoid that issue this year.
Well, FedEx is not poor, but it's poorer this year.
Yes.
They had a rough year. Revenues are way down in the double digits, and they had to postpone just how much they're growing the FedEx Logistics downtown. And they have this huge competitor coming on strong in Amazon. And, you know, I made a trip to Nashville just a couple weeks ago. I was struck by how many 18-wheelers had Amazon Prime on them, not FedEx. I mean, in fact, they outnumbered the number of FedEx trucks. So they've got some real challenges, and not only that, but the whole trade situation and all the tariffs, is that going to work itself out? Because that's obviously put a crimp on things as well. Otis?
Well, I think you just laid it out pretty well, Richard. FedEx is a legacy company that's been around since the early 1970s. It is a mature company in a lot of ways, even though they continue to use new technology and logistics and all of that to make that company be the big company that it is. But those challenges are very real, and one of those challenges is Amazon. Amazon is this really big 800-pound gorilla that's all over the place right now. It's making an impact even here in Memphis, certainly in Tennessee, around the country, and we'll have to see where 2020 and beyond, where we go, where FedEx is concerned in terms of its growth. It's still our company, and it's still doing well, but you know, in 2020, it's going to be a challenge for them going forward.
We're going to talk more about 2020 in our next segment. My panel here is going to make their predictions for what they think will be the biggest story next year, right after this.
I'm Corey B. Trotz. If you've been injured in a wreck, you know who to call. It's Nahon Saharovich and Trotz, the local law firm that has helped thousands of injured clients get more money.
NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000. Yummy lip balm.
Yummy lip balm? My lips get so dry and cracked, I need serious relief. That's why I use O'Keeffe's Lip Repair.
It's all-day moisture in one use and is guaranteed relief for extremely dry, cracked lips.
Thanks to O'Keeffe's, I got my lips back.
If your glasses aren't perfect, we'll fix them.
So will we. No, we won't.
Don't forget to use your vision benefits before they're gone. Now in network with VSP. VisionWorks. See the difference.
Lowe's helps you do hosting right. With the best prices of the year on appliances to help you handle anything and everything. Shop now for appliance savings like these. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
Workers will be injured on the job, and thousands of our veterans will be denied their basic benefits. Last year, thousands died from product injuries, and millions of families were torn apart by the opioid epidemic. The world we live in can be a dangerous and scary place. Last year, our team answered 2 million of your calls, and we recovered over $1 billion. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.
For too many people, this can be the gateway to opioid addiction.
Everyone says, it can't happen to me.
It can't happen to me.
Tell that to the 3 million people who become long-term opioid users every year after surgery. The truth is, we didn't know we had options other than opioids after surgery, but now we do.
I never thought addiction would be part of my life story, but it is.
Visit planagainstpain.com/gateway to hear their full stories.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
All right, so what does my panel think is going to be the biggest stories of 2020? Well, in this case, Susan and Mike, who you might not think would agree on much, they agree on this. They believe MLGW is going to drop TVA as a power provider. Mike, you first.
Absolutely. I think I've seen a change as far as going to these meetings of this committee to look at what's happening. At first, TVAs, you know, it's been here since the 30s. They love it. They take care of us and all that. But if you've noticed over the year, you're hearing more and more information from these groups that are saying, these studies that show you can save a lot of money. I mean, you can save millions and millions and millions of dollars by switching over. Exactly. You saw the hesitation in the city council this year as far as, again, trying to give an increase, a rate increase to TVA. I get the feeling that there are many on city council who are saying, make that change. Make that change, use the money from that change to start fixing your system up, maybe have those other folks help fix that system up and get it done. I think it's going to happen. I think we will see a difference, and TVA is gone.
Susan, we should be upfront to say you are a supporter of that and are working for the change.
Yes, I am. I think, though, that it is, if we leave TVA and leave a regulated utility for an unregulated utility across the river, MISO, which many, many other big municipalities have, MISO is 6 times the size of TVA. If we leave TVA, it puts more money in the pockets of Memphians, and it will give us a money source to fund projects that we don't have money for. MATA, repair infrastructure for like gas and water. It all seems so self-evident. I'm not as confident as Mike because I'm always a believer in it never happens until the fat lady sings. But we're moving in that direction. The more information that comes out about the merits of leaving TVA and moving to a provider, a supplier of electricity like MISO, how it would benefit this community. If the studies are all correct, and we all believe they are, that we save $450 million a year by moving to MISO, then we can immediately go to the bond markets and borrow against that savings. Mm-hmm. And that therein, when you can borrow $200 million a year, isn't that all like gas and water says they need to repair their infrastructure?
Right. So explain to me, though, I think one apprehension that folks have is who's to say that we're personally going to benefit from that $400 million in savings? Will MSGW promise that every customer will reap the benefits of that savings, or will it be applied some other way, be it MATA or schools, or how will we know that Memphis and Memphians will benefit?
Well, that's part of the complex problem that we face, but there are a multitude of things that, according to the city charter, the city can do with that savings. One of them is return some of the money to the ratepayers. Your utility rates will be lowered as far as as I understand it, and plenty of money left over to complete and finance the projects that this city wants.
If you can infuse $100, $125, $130 into the pockets of every Memphian on a monthly basis,
that's huge.
It would have a huge impact. It really would be a game changer. Otis, your story of the year for 2020 is Lamar's final hurrah.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, Lamar Alexander is a guy who's been in our public life for a generation. He got elected governor first in 1978 at a turbulent time when Blanton was going out in a scandal. And he served 2 terms there. He was education secretary. He was president of UT. He ran for president himself when George H.W. Bush was running. And now he's been a very long-serving senator. And he's giving it up next year. I think it's an era that you know, we're going to pay a lot of attention to next year, because first of all, I want to see how he really goes out. You know, how does he handle the impeachment proceedings? Who does he endorse for his replacement? You know, a lot of those things are going to take shape in 2020, but beyond all of that, Lamar Alexander has just been a part of our lives for 42 years now, and he will no longer be after 2020.
So is Willie Harrington.
Well, that's right. That's the reason I use both of those. It's last hurrah for both of them. And they have a connection, really, because they have liked each other in the past. Right. So that's why I picked those 2 stories.
Very good. And my story of the year for next year is fixing MATA. A lot of conversation about it in 2019. I know there's going to be a lot more in 2020. I hope there is a lot more, but it seems to me there's just a huge challenge for the elected officials who support making some changes and selling it to the public. All the public sees are a bunch of empty buses, and they're like, why on earth would we throw millions of dollars into a system that already doesn't work? And the fact is, Mike, you and I have talked about this, it needs to work, and it could be another game changer if it's done right. and folks could really not have to spend 3 hours on a bus going to the grocery store to get their paycheck. It really could be a big difference in a city that is so spread out.
You're not kidding. That's the reason why you see empty buses, because people just find other ways to get back and forth because they can't afford to invest 3 hours of their lives into a trip to their location, which in some cases that's what they have to do. But MATA itself, it's going to be getting around, again, the folks and the hesitancy among county commissioners who basically still look at MATA as saying that's a city service and not a county service, even though it does serve much of Shelby County. And I think that's the big fight this year. Mayor Lee Harris is going to have a whopper of a fight on this one.
Well, Susan, you're the PR person. If you were approaching this, selling this to the public, what needs to happen? What do elected officials need to do to bring the public on board and get them to see the light, so to speak?
To ride MATA?
Well, to know that we need to invest in MATA to make life better for so many that are in poverty, especially.
I don't think that it's really going to take a lot to persuade the public that we need a public transportation system. We don't have a subway. We don't have a rail system. We have buses. Now, whether we keep those big buses or make them smaller buses, I think everybody will agree that we need an efficient system. But what we don't have is a system that goes to the areas of town where transportation is in dire need. Those buses don't even go into Shelby Farms. So people in the urban core can enjoy that park. So I think the whole thing has to be reconfigured, and the money could be there if the city decides to leave TVA.
Maybe that's the answer, is to reconfigure. You need to sell folks on, here's the plan. We don't just want $30 million. This is what we're going to do with the $30 million.
And on top of that, if they continue to make the case, as Lee Harris has done, that you're addressing poverty here, you're even addressing things that lead to criminal activity by having better public transportation. If you do all that, I think it'll be fine.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Winter means fire deaths increase by almost 75% across Tennessee. Keep flammable items like blankets or furniture at least 3 feet away from space heaters and wood stoves. Practice a home fire escape plan with your family. Everyone should know 2 ways out of each room. Need working smoke alarms? Contact your local fire department and ask if they participate in Get Alarm Tennessee.
I like to grill. We had a group to come in, and I did some hamburgers. And he was 13 years old. He said, I have never had a hamburger. And the way he looked, I know he was serious. And he ate that hamburger and looked, he said, can I have another one? This is the first time I ever had a hamburger, and I don't know if I ever get another one. Things like that just touches you. I want you to do more for them.
This little guy is one lucky puppy. He has the chance to do something amazing. Become a guide dog, a lifeline to someone who is blind, or a service dog, a lifesaver to a veteran with a disability. He's on a mission, and we'll make sure he gets there. You can help. Visit guidedogs.org to learn more.
Everyone has a story.
You can overcome.
Stories that matter and are important to you.
Voice to the voiceless.
Stories of grief, triumph, tragedy, and hope. Local 24 News is committed to telling your story, keeping you informed, keeping you safe. Local 24 News with Richard Ransom and Katina Rankin, telling your story.
To weigh in on the broadcast, the email is rransom@localmemphis.com. My thanks to the panel. My thanks to you. It's been a great year being here with you. We hope to see you next year on Local 24 this week.
Everyone who has ever lived has lived